Hi my beautiful angels, welcome back to my channel. For quite some time, I've been looking into my wellness journey behind the camera, and I've been paying attention to so many symptoms that I did not know were related to PCOS. By the way, my room is literally right next to the bathroom, and I live with other humans, so if you hear the bathroom, the shower, any other people walking, that is because I live with other people. And if I wait for my entire house to be quiet in order for me to film, it's never gonna get done, so we're just gonna push through, okay? Some of the symptoms that I did not know were all related to PCOS, which, to be very honest with you, I did not really understand PCOS like that. Like, I knew PCOS has something to do like with your ovaries and blah 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 blah, but I didn't really understand what are the symptoms that the everyday woman experiences besides probably like chin hair and pain. I didn't really know what to think. So once I started paying attention to what my symptoms were and have been comparing it to other people, whatever, that's when I really started to understand my body on a different note. So let's go through some of the symptoms that I've been experiencing from my end. I've been experiencing double chin inflammation, which for some time I thought that it was due to my sodium levels, which sodium is a big contributor if you have a high sodium intake. However, as somebody that pretty much eats a clean diet, besides the fact that I maybe indulge in some sugar here and there, I still wake up with a double chin. And I'm not overweight, so it's not one of those double chins where it's like, oh, like you're overweight, you gotta lose some weight. I've been maintaining my weight for quite some time at this point, and I still consistently work out, keep up with everything else. However, that is one of the symptoms that I have been experiencing, and that is due to inflammation because I have inflammatory PCOS. It has been one of my biggest newfound insecurities for some reason. 4 weeks ago, I had a PCOS flare-up and I looked so inflamed that I'm literally like, what's going on? But anyway, let's move on to the other symptom. I've been retaining a lot of water. Of course, as many of you may or may not know, I have been experiencing a lot of hair breakage and a lot of hair loss from the roots, which was probably one of my first symptoms, like at my face symptoms, that I started to notice like, okay, something's actually going on deeper with my body. Extreme heavy periods, which I've been having since I was 10 years old. I got my period when I was 10 years old, and it has always been that way. I never really questioned it. I did know that I always had ovarian cysts because it has always been a thing for me, and I've always had extreme pain there, but that is also part of the reason I have PCOS. A recent symptom that has came up for me has been my hormonal acne in an extreme way, because I've always been used to having acne on my face, but not to the point where it is so painful to even look at. I'm not even touching it, I'm just looking at it and it hurts. So that was one of the biggest reasons where I'm like, something's going on, because I've never had extreme hormonal acne coming from this entire section of my face. The final recent symptom that has been at my face as of lately is that my metabolism has changed, and I don't know how I feel about that. So I was the girl that always went to the bathroom. Oh yeah, by the way, so we talk about going to the bathroom here a lot because that is important. Pooping is important, you guys. If we don't poop, we're not okay. If we don't poop, we're not okay. So we have to talk about it. We're not gonna be shameful about it, okay? We have to speak freely. I've always been the kind of girl that always had stomach issues, which I feel like that's where I get a lot of my inflammation from, because I grew up on a Dominican-based diet. Ate a lot of plátano, salami, queso, huevo frito. And a lot of people are like, oh, but there's other things that are not super heavy. But my mom didn't really cook those other things. And not just that, but that's not what I liked growing up. You know what I mean? So I ate a lot of heavy things that lacked a lot of fiber and that were not as balanced. So then my stomach eventually went through a lot of ups and downs, trying to figure out what works best for my body, what doesn't. I feel like last year, during the beginning of my weight loss journey, I kind of got a hang of it where I would eat my greens and I would go to the bathroom and blah blah blah. However, as of recently, now that I'm eating a little bit more, I would say cleaner, and probably like more dairy free, lowering my sugar, less gluten if I can, as much as I can, you know? Now that I've been not restrictive, but more intentional about what I put into my body, because it's gonna show up literally everywhere, my metabolism has changed a lot. And I used to be at a point where I would go to the bathroom probably 3 times a day. Does that sound like a lot? Probably, but now I go to the bathroom once or twice a day. I'm lucky if I get 2 times, but definitely once a day. Like if I go once a day, like we're on point. If I go twice a day, we're like, yes. If I go 3 times a day, honestly, digestion is at its peak, but I don't do that very often throughout the week. But the reason why I'm speaking about pooping, it is because my most recent symptom regarding like my PCOS and my period and all of that, it is that during the first 3 days of my period, I get chronic, I can't even say it. Diarrhea. okay? I get chronic diarrhea. It has not been pretty. It has been to the point where I go from the bed to the bathroom, the bed to the bathroom, the bed to the bathroom, where I'm getting dehydrated, where I have to stop eating for the rest of the day because my stomach is just not tolerating anything. It's due to like your period and your hormones, and I don't have the time to actually research that right now, but if you want to look into it, it's a thing that happens to a lot of women. That 4 weeks ago is what gave me my PCOS flare-up because I was on the toilet for 4 hours. I got dehydrated. I barely ate that day. My stomach was in pain. My cramps, nothing was taking them away. I was on my bed like a little ball, just trying to find some relief because nothing was giving me any relief. After that day, I did not poop for a week because what is there left to poop? But then I got constipated. So that has been one of my newfound symptoms, and that is literally the reason why I got so inflamed. My acne outbreak just got so much more worse because I have an estrogen dominance, and when you're not pooping, that's just recycling. All of the toxins that you're supposed to be letting out is just recycling over and over and over in your body, which is why it's coming out through your acne, which is why it's coming out through your inflammation, which is why it's coming out through your bloating. So that is why I say that pooping is very important, and you should not be taking that lightly because it just carries on to everything else in your body. Your digestion should be at its peak at all times. Okay, so now that we have all of that in the open and I feel very exposed, we're gonna be talking about all of the things that I've been doing during the past 4 weeks to at least heal my body to 90% of feeling better, which is a lot for me to say. For me to say that it's at 90% and recovery and healing and feeling good, I'm not gonna say that I feel my 100% right now, but at least 90 to 95% by doing all of the things that we're going to be speaking about today. And that is such a win because it is all natural things that you can do right from the comfort of your own home. And by the way, all of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you can be applied to you if you're trying to figure out how to work your metabolism better, how to deepen your self-care routine. If you're on your weight loss journey, this could also be helpful. It doesn't necessarily have to be just women that have PCOS. So if you don't find yourself falling into that category, you're more than welcome to continue watching this video. But yeah, let's talk about my newfound wellness journey because hot girl healing looks like this now. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna highly suggest that you do is to figure out what kind of PCOS you have. There are probably, I think, 4 types. And just to put it out there in the world, you may have more than one type of PCOS, especially if you have one undiagnosed for a really long time. One type of PCOS can trigger the other type of PCOS because it has been undiagnosed and untreated for a long time. So figure out what kind of PCOS that you have, and by doing so you could go to the doctors, get any lab work done. After that, what I highly suggest that you do is take all of those symptoms and everything that your doctor told you, and also take your lab test results and put it into ChatGPT into a prompt. And that is what I did because I feel like ChatGPT kind of gave me a better understanding of why my body was reacting this way. And not only did I speak about the symptoms that I was feeling physically, I told ChatGPT to ask me questions that would help her because she's that girl. So I told her to ask me what kind of questions she would find helpful for her to know in order for her to come to a conclusion as to why my PCOS got triggered. What are my triggers? What's going on with my body? Why am I getting inflammation? What does my routine should look like? All of that, right? That is how ChatGPT has become such a huge help for me because a lot of my current routine right now, it is based on what she recommended, and she also gave me a better understanding as to why my body reacted this way, which we're gonna get into, I promise. The next point that I wanted to make before we get started is that no medication or supplements is going to make you feel better if your nervous system is dysregulated. It has been such a hard pill for me to swallow because I'm the type of person where if you recommend something to me for me to feel better and it works, I'm like, yes, let's do it, let's go. And I get so disappointed when it doesn't work for my body, but I have to come to the realization that I was probably stressed 90% of the time mentally. Stress plays such a huge role in your PCOS symptoms and also in everything else in your life. It affects everything else in your life. So I just wanted to remind you in case you forgot or you weren't aware that PCOS a lot of the times is triggered by trauma, not necessarily trauma that could happen right now per se, but also trauma that could have happened to you tracing back all the way from your childhood and is showing up now as PCOS, which is actually pretty insane. Habit 2 would be castor oil massages on my liver to help with constipation, bloating, inflammation, and ovarian cysts, which I do experience. I fear that the wellness TikTok girlies were onto something when they started speaking about castor oil because it has been changing my life. There's gonna be probably some people that say that they don't really see any benefits. I alternate applying castor oil between my liver, my belly button, and my lower belly because they all have different benefits and different areas to target. I feel like if you don't really understand the natural concept concept of castor oil, one of the things that I like to say to people is that it is one of those practices that I would consider is just like going to the gym. You won't see the results right away, but you will feel them right away, which is what I like about castor oil. We're finally moving on to habit 3. Habit 3 is to have a consistent workout routine, but also learning how to give myself grace depending on what kind of phase in my cycle that I'm in. I was always the kind of person to be like, work hard, be consistent, blah, blah, blah. And I was very rigid with the kind of routine that I would follow, especially during my weight loss journey, because I took it very, very seriously. As of recently, ever since I got my flare-up 4 weeks ago, I decided that I wanted to change things up a little bit for myself because clearly that wasn't working. There's some times during the month where I feel my strongest, and I would say that's the follicular and the ovulation phase. I feel so strong. I feel on top of the world. I have so much energy. I feel alive. I feel beautiful. And that's when I could lift the heaviest. I could stick to my routine. I don't have that excessive hungerness that I experienced during my luteal or during my menstrual phase. I'm on top of the world, man. So that's when I'm like, okay, let's go hard. Let's be consistent. Let's do this. Let's take advantage. Let's film. Literally filming during this time, because when I'm during my luteal and during my menstrual, I don't want to do anything. I have no energy. I don't feel like myself. I feel ugly. I have to see myself on camera. Like, tell me how that works, right? Learning how to give yourself grace during those times is actually what's going to make the biggest difference. Like I mentioned, I would try to go so hard during the 4 weeks of the month, even though my hormones are shifting drastically, and I would be so disappointed when I wouldn't give the same energy during my luteal and my menstrual phase towards my workouts that I would give during my follicular or during my ovulation phase. Which, duh, like, you're not gonna give the same energy because you're not feeling the same. And I feel like we should act accordingly to that, and we should plan accordingly to that. Where I would feel guilty because I was doing that and because I wasn't giving my 100%, I now give myself some grace. I'm also making the mindset shift of not working just for aesthetics purposes. I'm working out to make my body and to make myself feel good and look good, obviously, but mostly to feel good in my body. And I'm not gonna feel good if I'm trying to force myself to do something during my luteal phase that I literally don't want to do. Okay, so habit 4 has been the most crucial one, I'm gonna say, and that is by leaning towards herbal remedies and drinking lots and lots of teas. I did not realize up until like week 4 of my journey how much teas have played such a huge role in the way that I feel and the relief that I've found. I fear I might have to do a separate video on just teas alone because I've tried so many different teas for different kinds of purposes, of course, and I feel like I love them so much and I can't fit them all in one video. I feel like this video is gonna be long enough, so let me know if you would be interested in me talking about all different kinds of teas that I've tried and the purposes of them, and I would love to create that for you. So if you're interested, please don't forget to let me know in the comment section down below. But off the top of my head, and also because I'm reading off of my laptop screen, some of the teas that have been changing my life and that I'm so eternally grateful for has been peppermint, spearmint, and lemon balm tea, which helps so much with inflammation and calming down my nervous system, which is really important, probably, like I said, the root cause of my PCOS symptom. And dandelion tea, which I hate her. She tastes so bad, but she is so good for my body. My body craves her. She has been so life-changing for me, for my digestive system, which is another one of my biggest issues. And the fact that she still has me going to the bathroom on time and bringing down inflammation, bringing down my bloating, which is pretty important here. I kind of mix all of those 3 teas together because I got my peppermint, spearmint, and lemon balm in one tea, like in one tea bag, and then I add dandelion and probably some chamomile, and it is the perfect recipe to bringing down your bloating and also healing your skin, because this is how my skin was looking before the 4 weeks ago when I had that flare up, and look at my skin currently. We've made so much progress. I obviously have a lot of hyperpigmentation, but I'm so proud of my skin. We've come a long way. So some of the other tips that I don't want to miss because I feel like they're still pretty important, but I don't have to dive deep into them because I feel like they're also pretty self-explanatory, are going to sleep around the same time every single night to help regulate your nervous system, and using magnesium if needed, because I feel like that also played a huge role into me having a good sleeping pattern at this point. Of course, journaling to understand your feelings, and having an anti-inflammatory diet, which of course plays a huge role. Lastly, I want to talk about habit stacking. Probably so many of you are watching this video or watching other creators and thinking to yourselves, of course she's gonna heal her body because she has all the time in the world and all the money in the world and blah blah blah, which, true. Like, I'm not gonna say no, it's not true. Like, of course they have an advantage, not me. The only advantage that I have, of course, is that I get to stay home. which I am going to be pretty honest about that. I do get to stay home and I do get to invest my time into making myself feel better and then sharing that with the world. However, habit stacking has been key to making this happen. I also used to see other creators and think, oh my god, like of course she's gonna feel better, of course she's healing because she has all the time and resources in the world. But I've found that habit stacking has deeply changed my life in a way that works for my life. I can give you all of the tips and all of the supplements and everything that I've learned, everything in this world, I could give it to you. However, there's still gonna be some things that don't resonate with you, probably things that don't work for your body, and obviously things that don't work for your life. In the long run, when you see yourself after 4 weeks, like me right now, when I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, I'm seeing the difference. I'm feeling the difference. But yeah, also I feel like not getting caught up in the excuse that I have PCOS and like, oh yeah, that's the reason why I have this, or that's the reason why I can't lose weight, and blah blah blah. Of course it is a big contributor, but I don't want to settle for that. I don't want you to also settle for that. So it's just best to be proactive as early on as you can to stay confident and also to not feel like you're settling for that. Because you could have so much more. You could feel so much more better. Hot girl healing has been looking like this for me now, and I'm just so thankful that I've been finding at least somewhat of a relief for myself, and I pray that you do too. And if you are going to include any one of my tips, I would love to know which one caught your attention the most. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like these. I will be seeing you guys in my next video. Bye!